Okay. Nonetheless, the second festivity of today, on the 7th of January, marked His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Swami Maharaj's coming to ISKCON for 50 years. And today we'll get the opportunity to celebrate this festival in some small way. Thank you very much, Maharaj, for giving us all your association, and we now look forward to hearing your class. His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Swami Maharaj ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Sorry. Well, it's just wonderful to be here. It really is. And there's a third important thing about today, which actually I'm going to try to focus on. Today is gosh, I couldn't put a number on it, but it's about the 510th or something anniversary tomorrow of Lord Chaitanya taking sannyas, which, yes, really very special occasion, super special. So, and it's just such an amazing pastime. So I'm going to focus on it. Focus on it. And I'm sure some of you have heard it before. It's really an amazing thing. But even if you've heard it before, Srila Prabhupada would say, repetition of a good thing is good. So we can just go on hearing the same transcendental things, and it's always good, and actually it just gets better. So, but let us first of all chant Jai Radha Madhava. Where? Oh, there. I'll sing, but I need cartels. Do you mind playing that? Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhare Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhare Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Manacharya Tira Manacharya His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON's founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Shishi Gaunitai Ki Shishi Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Devi Ki Goprimanande. All glories to this, O devotees. All glories to this, O devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So devotees, yes, tomorrow is the anniversary of Lord Chaitanya taking sannyas. And it's what I'm not sure exactly, but about 510 years ago, approximately. It was an event that took place over about 4 days or even 5 days. There are different sort of stages of it happening. And it's really very amazing pastime. It's actually described in Chaitanya Bhagavat. Of course, there's mention in Chaitanya Charitamrita, but it's really just a mention. So much more, actually in detail in Chaitanya Bhagavat and also Chaitanya Mangala to some extent. It's very interesting and wonderful pastime. So what we'll do, I will just read a couple of verses first of all from Chaitanya Bhagavat, and then we'll go through the story. First of all, though, some prayers. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nir Vishesha Shunyavadi Paschyatyade Chitarane Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakam Charubhyas Kripa Sindhu Vyayacha Paridanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. Okay, so here we go. First of all, I'll read 2 verses from Chaitanya Bhagavat. Madhya Kanda means Madhya Lila. Chapter 28, verse 100 and then 101. So, first of all, verse 100. Sarva Jiva Natha Gora Chandra Jaya Jaya Vale Range Sabe Uda Rile Daya Maya. All glories to the merciful Lord Gora Sunda, the Lord of all. He expertly delivered every one. And verse 101. Shuna Shuna Are Bai Prabhura Sanyas Yekata Shunile Karma Banda Yaya Nash. Please listen to this description of the Lord's acceptance of sannyas. Hearing this narration will destroy one's bondage resulting from fruitive activities. That's just a little hint, just to try and make sure that you give your attention, because if you really do, if you really listen very nicely, as he says, this narration will destroy your bondage resulting from fruitive activities. Okay, so let me just say a few words of introduction to the pastime. Lord Chaitanya, of course, is the most recent incarnation of God, of Lord Krishna, and he's taking the role of the Yuga avatar, the particular form of the Lord who appears in the whichever yuga or age, and teaches and demonstrates Hare Krishna, the recommended religious activity for that age. And this, of course, this age is the Kali Yuga, and as I'm sure all or the great majority of you know, it is really not a nice time. In the Vedic literatures, the passage of time or the process of development of the universe, actually, this is all cyclical, creation, maintenance, destruction, then creation, then maintenance, destruction, and it just goes on. It has been going on, and it is continuing to go on. It's eternal. As we know, those of you who are scientists, I think some of you are scientifically minded, matter can be transformed but not destroyed. Are you with me? That's very basic. Like even, I don't want to sound pessimistic, but even our bodies, of course, they've been transforming for all the years, however many years we've been living, and at a certain point of time, when we, Hare Krishna, go back to Goloka Vrindavan, Krishna. We are praying, believe me. We're definitely praying. Then the body, I mean, sometimes people go back to God in the actual same body. It happens, the material body, yeah. Of course, it doesn't remain material when they are back at Godhead. It gets transformed into a spiritual body. But anyways, generally, the bodies don't go, they get left behind, and they transform. Either they're burnt and they get transformed into ashes or whatever, the smoke that goes up, and if the body is buried, then the body usually gets eaten. Excuse me, I won't get into it. But that's what happens by little creatures. Yeah, that's what happens. And sometimes bodies just get thrown out and just the local, whatever, dogs and so on eat them. And the body gets transformed. And everything goes through that, including the whole universe. Yeah, there's a time of creation, there's a process of creation, then there's a period of maintenance, then there's deterioration and ultimately destruction. But the matter remains. Yeah, the components, sort of, or whatever you might call them, they remain, and then later they get put together again in the time of the next creation. So anyway, Lord Chaitanya came as the Yuga avatar, taking the role of the Yuga Avatar, and he taught and practiced the religious process for this age, which is the chanting of the holy names of God, which we were just doing just minutes ago. That is the process recommended for this age. So Lord Chaitanya came and he appeared in Navadvip in Mayapur, West Bengal, 1486 AD. So you can calculate, what is it, 530 something years ago. Yes, and for the first 24 years, he was living at home. He went through his early days, and then he got married. Actually, his first wife passed away, Lakshmi Priya, bitten by a snake. And then there was his second wife, Vishnu Priya. And Lord Chaitanya, from the point of around about 18 years, around about that time, Lord Chaitanya really started to teach and spread the Sankirtan movement, or the movement of getting people to chant the holy names of the Lord. But he was a householder, he was a married man. His father had passed away, his mother was still living, and she was very saintly and wonderful elderly lady, and he had young wife, Vishnu Priya, who was also very great devotee. So he was doing what he could locally in the sort of the region around, and he was having a massive impact. But still he felt dissatisfied, because his mission was to give the chanting to the whole world, And here he is sort of, so to speak, stuck at home in a nice way, but still limited. So he really felt the need to get out and just really move around much more widely and give the holy names of the Lord to a lot more people, like the whole population, as much as possible. So what to do? So, well, what he did, and tomorrow is the anniversary, he decided to take sannyas, means to give up his family life. Even though he was young, he was 24, and his second wife, she was younger. So, it was a bit of a situation, but still he felt that I really need to do this for the sake of the world. And my mother's a great devotee. She will be all right. And my wife is a very great devotee. She'll be all right also. But this is my mission. This is why I have come to this world. So that was one thing. And another thing was that he felt in order to accomplish that mission, he needed to be taken more seriously by people, because, well, a number of things happened, but one thing which happened a few times was that he was teaching Sanskrit, Lord Chaitanya, and so he had his regular group of students who'd come every day and he'd teach them. And after he had really started to preach the chanting of the holy names, he was already teaching Sanskrit, but now he sort of changed his mode of operation. of teaching. And he was teaching Sanskrit by using all terminologies and examples from Krishna consciousness. Yes. I won't get into any technical details, but you remember, we were all at school, right? I mean, some of you may still be. But do you remember consonants? You heard consonants? Oh, you do? Okay. Consonants, yeah. English grammar. Vowels, nouns, adjectives, prepositions. You remember them? Okay. So there are the equivalents in Sanskrit, except Sanskrit is a lot more complex. We have, how many letters do we have? 26, is it? 26? In Sanskrit, I think it's 48. I think it's 48 anyway, it's something like that. A lot more, and there's a lot more complexity. So all these terms, like I just mentioned a few nouns and verbs and all that, he started giving them Krishna conscious names and teaching the students instead of, what is the noun form of something, he'd say, what is, just for argument's sake, what is the Krishna form? So they all had to adapt to this. And it was a bit of a thing. Although he was super expert, to put it mildly. But then as he got more deeply into spreading Krishna consciousness, his mood deepened. And he started calling out. He'd be doing something in school, and he'd start calling out, Gopi, Gopi, or Radhe, Radhe, just in the middle of teaching. And the students were like, what happened to our teacher? And some of them, because you know what it's like at school, every school has smart Alex. They started criticizing Lord Chaitanya. Did any of you ever make fun of your teachers? Anyway, that's what they started doing. They started making fun of Lord Chaitanya. What's he doing? What's all this gopi, gopi? And suddenly, that we were talking of nouns and adjectives, suddenly now they're Krishnas and Ramas, or like that. So they started really openly criticizing him. And Lord Chaitanya understood that, I can't go on like this. How am I going to make an impact on society as I need to if I'm not taken seriously? So particularly in those days, and it's still current in India and amongst Indian communities here and there, if someone's a householder, then if they're really spiritually advanced, they may be taken somewhat seriously. But sannyasis are generally taken much more seriously, and meaning respected much more and listened to, and like that. So Lord Chaitanya felt, I have to do this. Otherwise, I won't be able to fulfill my mission adequately. So he decided to take sannyas. So he decided on the day which is known as Makara Sankranti. I don't know if you follow the calendar much. That was last Sunday. Makara Sankranti means the day the sun starts moving towards the north. Yeah. Now it's deep in the south, because this is the southern hemisphere and it's the middle of summer. So, but, after a while, we all know winter will come. So on Makara Sankranti, the sun starts moving to the north. Right, so on that day, Lord Chaitanya decided, I am going to do this, and that's it. He told a few associates, he told Lord Nityananda, he told Gadadhar, Chandrasekhar Acharya, he told Mukunda Dutt, who was a great singer, some of you might have heard of him, famous singer, amazing singer. But he didn't tell others. He decided he would do it. So, right. So he decided to do it. So on the day, means Sunday just passed, then by his will, there was there was special phenomena happening amongst the people for no apparent reason. Everyone in the town came to visit him one after the other. And they didn't know, but it was there were farewell meetings with everyone. Yeah. So everyone came, hundreds and maybe thousands of people, just one by one, like that. And all of them felt that somehow or other they just felt some sort of like premonition that he's going. We may not see him again. So yeah, that particularly in the evening, all the devotees came like magically, Chaitanya Bhagavat explains. And they had darshan of him, garlanded him. Garlanded him. I don't know who was responsible for this. You're extremely, I think you got carried away, really. You probably won't admit it, you answer. Yeah. So these people came and stayed. So there's a huge crowd by the time of the evening. Huge crowd had developed. And then Lord Chaitanya, late in the evening, on the Makara Sankranti day, means the Sunday, yeah. He told everyone, he gave his final instruction. Always chant Hare Krishna. Talk about Krishna. Always remember Krishna. Not the usual, Bolo Krishna, Bhaja Krishna, Koro Krishna, Shiksha. It's a little different. I mean, it's very similar, but a little different. So yeah, please always chant Hare Krishna. Talk about Krishna. Always remember Krishna. Now, please go back home. And everyone went feeling mixed feelings, happy, but also like this premonition type of mood. We think he's going to go. Late at night, Kulavecha Sridhar, maybe you have heard of him, the banana businessman, banana seller. Kulavecha Sridhar came with a pumpkin. A pumpkin, yes. And Lord Chaitanya remembered, we won't go into it, it's the subject for a whole nother program. Lord Chaitanya remembered how he had mistreated him so much, stealing his bananas, forcing him to give a discount on his heavily discounted already bananas. Really giving him a hard time. And Kulavecha Sridhar would tell him, listen, there are other people here, around here, selling bananas. I think they sell very good bananas. Why don't you just go to them? But he would say, no. We have a long-standing business relationship. I'm sticking with you. And he would almost, transcendentally torment Kolovecha Sridhar. But late that night, the last visitor was Kolovecha Sridhar with a pumpkin. So Lord Chaitanya got Mother Sachi to take the pumpkin and to make pumpkin kheer with it. Are you familiar with pumpkin kheer? No, come on. You've wasted at least 10% of your life. Gosh. Anyway, it's a very traditional dish. It's a sweet made of pumpkin with milk and sugar. Plenty of sugar. So that was his last meal. Around midnight, he had that meal. Then at 3 in the morning, Lord Chaitanya left. With Lord Nityananda, Chandrasekhar, Gadadhar, and Mukunda Dutt, they left. And they just ran down to the Ganges, which is close by. I mean, it's from where he was living, it was at that time probably a couple of 100 meters or something like that. They just ran down. As Lord Chaitanya was leaving the house, his mother woke up. And Lord Chaitanya thanked her. Thank you for looking after me all my life. But don't worry, Krishna will look after you. And then he went, and Vishnupriya got up, and she and Sachi Devi, they ran after Lord Chaitanya down to the Ganges. And when they got there, Lord Chaitanya had already started swimming across the Ganges. And they called out, it's a famous place, they called out, Nidaya, Nidaya, Nidaya. Daya means mercy. Nidaya, no mercy, no mercy, no mercy. And that place is still there. Nidaya Ghat is there, just up from our temple, a little bit up the Ganges on the same side, Nidaya Ghat. Yes, but Lord Chaitanya had gone already. So she went back home, and the next morning, all the devotees, next morning now we're talking about in terms of Sunday was Makara Sankranti, so we're talking about Monday. So they all woke up, and all the residents of Navadvip, Mayapur, they all woke up and found out that he's gone. Lord Chaitanya has gone. They didn't call him Lord Chaitanya, they called him Nimai Pandit. Yes, Chaitanya, Krishna Chaitanya, was the sannyas name, which he's just about to be given in a couple of days. So everyone found out, and there was amazing lamentation. Of course, all these people, they're all, not all, but so many of them, they're residents of Vrindavan with Krishna. But they came and appeared in Mayapur, Navadvip, with Krishna when he came as Lord Chaitanya. So Krishna left Vrindavan. They'd all been through that. Now they're going through the same thing, but with Krishna as Lord Chaitanya. So it's the same sort of scene. Let me just read, it's a paragraph or 2 or 3 or 4 sentences. When Krishna left Vrindavan, And when Krishna left Vrindavan, if you're familiar with Nandagram, where Krishna left Vrindavan from, then there's the hill where the big temple is now, and that's where the palace of Krishna's father was. And then if you go to the sort of looking towards the southeast a bit, from there, you see there's a road going straight out. Those of you who have been there, you might remember that. It's the old road to Mathura, because that's where Krishna went. He went to Mathura. And so Krishna then, the first village on the way is called Bijvari. And just listen to this. It's the story, just very short, how the town got its name, or village, 5,000 years ago. As Krishna sat on the chariot, his beloved gopis were overwhelmed and surrounded the chariot. They surrendered their eyes to the lotus feet of Krishna, and as they cried out, "O Lord of our lives," they fell unconscious when they reached that village. Just as lightning bolts strike the ground, so the gopis similarly fell to the ground. Everyone then came to know how the bolt of lightning, which is called Vijari, hits the ground. And therefore the place is known as Bijvari. 5,000 years later, it still has the same name, which means like a lightning bolt. Bijvari. Yeah. So the scene was like that in Navadvip, in Mayapur and Navadvip. And the news got out. And let me just read a little from Chaitanya Bhagavat. On hearing this news, people were struck with wonder and went to the Lord's house. When they saw that the Lord's house was empty, they also began to cry. Even the offenders and atheists became aggrieved while hearing the people lament. The atheists said, "We are very sinful, therefore we could not recognize him." As they repented in this way, they also began to cry. The people of the town cried and rolled on the ground, lamenting, "We will not see his moon-like face again." Someone said, "Let us burn our homes and leave this place. We can become mendicant yogis and accept the sign of a mendicant by wearing an ivory earring." Anyone who has yogi aspirations. Realizing that Sri Gaurasundar had taken sannyas, some people decided that they would set fire to their houses and leave them. When the Lord has left Navadvip, why should we continue living? In this way, all the men and women of Nadia simply lamented. They could not think of anything else. Even those who were filled with offenses and envy were also bitten by the snake of the Lord's separation. So Advaita Acharya, when he found out, he said, "I will not live. I will drown in the Ganga. Don't any of you try to stop me. And if you do stop me, then I'll go later in the middle of the night, so no one will stop me." There's a whole lot of people gathered. And they all said, don't worry. We're not going to stop you. We're going to come with you and drown in the Ganges also. So it was a scene of extreme devastation. in separation. And that's love in separation, the highest love. Vishnu Priya, you may know, she took a vow that she would just chant. And for every round, she would put 1 grain of rice aside. And at the end of the day, however many rounds, that many grains of rice would be there. She'd cook them, and that was it. That's what she lived in. And she lived to be, I think it's like 95 or 96, something like that. So very amazing situation. Very amazing situation. So yes, but Lord Chaitanya had gone. Yes, Lord Chaitanya had gone. Now, of course, who is Vishnu Priya? She is a form of Srimati Radharani. She's a form of Sita. And you may know, or you may not know, that one of the 9 islands of Navadvip, Navadvip means 9 islands. The area was divided up like that by branches of the Ganges going here and there. So one of them is called Modadrum Dweep. Drum means tree. Modadrum means very big, beautiful, and very peaceful tree, like a massive banyan. And when Lord Ram and Mother Sita and Lakshman were out on exile, they stopped there and they stayed there under the tree for some time. And one day Sita saw that Lord Ram was sitting there with his eyes closed like he's in meditation, with a smile on his face like he's really meditating on some nectar, something, pastime or something. And then he came out of it and Sita said, "Oh, what were you meditating on? You seem just so blissful." And Lord Ram said, "Yes, I was just meditating on the most wonderful thing. I was meditating on how I am going to, I was meditating on how you and we will appear here in the Kali Yuga, and we'll be husband and wife again. And we will spread the chanting of our holy names." And it was so nice. And Sita said, "Really, that sounds just wonderful. We're going to be here again together. Oh, that's so wonderful." And then Lord Ram said, "And you know, the most wonderful thing was that I was thinking how at that time I would give you the greatest mercy that I've got to give, the greatest mercy there is." And Sita said, "Really? What's that? What's the greatest mercy? What are you going to give me?" And Lord Ram with a big smile said, when we appear here, I'm going to leave you and take sannyas." And Sita said, "What? That's not nice. What do you mean, mercy?" And then Lord Ram explained that the ecstasy of separation, love and separation, is the highest of all. And he said, because they'd just gone into exile not very long before. And he said, I wanted to give you the same mercy now. And that's why I arranged, because it's his pastime, that I get exiled. But then you insisted on coming with me. And what could I do? You know, I didn't want, at this time I'm not meant to take sannyas. So when we appear, that time, I'm going to take sannyas because then you can't come with me. We cannot be Mr. and Mrs. Swami. It's not on. So Lord Ram said that, we're so happy together, but when we're separated, the ecstasy is higher. So, okay, then devotees and friends and family members, Lord Chaitanya arrived in Katwa. Katwa is on the other side of the Ganges from Mayapur, and it's up the river, not so far, but it is a bit of a way up the river. I mean, it is a bit of a way, it's probably 40 kilometers or 50 or something. So he arrived there, and he had already met Keshava Bharati, who was a sannyasi. He had already met him. Keshava Bharati had visited Mayapur, and he had met him, and Lord Chaitanya had told him, I would like to take sannyas from you. But Keshava, he's a householder, Lord Chaitanya. Keshava Bharati said, no. And then Keshava Bharati went and settled or established an ashram in Katwa, and the place is still there. So suddenly, Lord Chaitanya arrived there and said, here I am, give me sannyas. And Keshava Bharati looked at him and said, I can't give you sannyas. It's not possible. Lord Chaitanya, when he came in, he was just chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, just chanting and chanting. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In complete ecstasy. And Keshava Bharati, it's early in the morning, wow, what is this first thing in the morning? And he said, listen, you don't need to take sannyas. You're too advanced. You're already so advanced, there's no need, so don't worry about it. And he tried to preach to Lord Chaitanya that, look, you're only 24, and your mother is so nice, she's elderly, and you got this wonderful wife. Don't take sannyas. You can do it later. Go back to them. They're great devotees. But Lord Chaitanya was just insistent. So then Keshava Bharati tried another approach. Because Lord Chaitanya, of course, he is Krishna, and Krishna is very beautiful. Lord Chaitanya is very beautiful. Extremely beautiful. Just like Krishna, basically. Krishna is so beautiful that when he was walking around town sometimes, people would see him. When they'd see him, they would faint. Just faint. And even sometimes warriors sitting on horseback or even on elephants would see Krishna, and it was just too much. The beauty was just, we had no experience of anything like that. And they would faint and fall off their horses and elephants and just crash to the ground. And Lord Chaitanya was beautiful like that. And, I've said this many times, and I've probably said it to you before, but did anyone ever faint when they saw you? Anyone? No? Just one? No? Not one? No. Me neither. And as I usually say, maybe some fainted out of shock. Anyway, yeah. So Lord Chaitanya, the thing is, Lord Chaitanya is so incredibly, just unimaginably handsome. And handsome is one word, but actually beautiful. Yeah. Not like sort of, you might say, effeminate, but just incredibly beautiful. So Keshav Bharati took another little strategy that, listen, generally people take sannyas when they're old, like 50, 60, 70, and you know what it's like. Well, if you're that age, you know what it's like. No ladies are going to be very interested in that sense, if you know what I mean. So it's okay. But Keshav Bharati said to Lord Chaitanya, you're too beautiful. There'll be so many young women who'll be interested in you. You shouldn't take sannyas. But Lord Chaitanya, he was just insistent, completely insistent, dancing and crying and chanting wildly. So Keshav Bharati, he understood that there wasn't anything he could do. So he wanted, actually, you know what he wanted to do? He told Lord Chaitanya, listen, I'm going to go out the back, think about it for a minute, just wait here, don't go away. He was going to run away. Yeah. He wanted to escape because it was just too much. The situation was just too much. So then the word spread around the town, Katwa, which actually is a city, a small city, but it's substantial. And people started arriving because Lord Chaitanya, as Nimai Pandit, was very well known. It's in the area, in his area. He was very well known. Oh, Nimai Pandit has come and he wants to take sannyas from Keshav Bharati. Wow, let's go and see. So they all gathered there, thousands and thousands. Lord Chaitanya took a straw between his teeth and bowed down before each one and begged for their blessings and their mercy. And they didn't know what to say. He bathed them with tears from his eyes and asked, please bless me to take sannyas. And you know what happened? No one gave him their blessings because they didn't want him to take sannyas. So then, you got all these people, and there's just more and more coming in. And they're all around this ashram of Keshav Bharati. And then Lord Chaitanya got up and addressed them. I need to take sannyas for my mission, and I got to do it to spread Krishna consciousness. But the people would not agree. Then the people, listen to this, devotees, they told Keshav Bharati, they told him, if you dare to give him sannyas, we'll kill you. If you dare to destroy his family life, if you dare to murder his mother and wife and all of his devotees, if you dare to murder our hearts by cutting off his beautiful hair, you will pay the consequences. We will not allow this to happen. We will kill you and smash down your whole ashram brick by brick and throw it in the Ganges, and you with it, if you give him sannyas. So they're just getting so wild, the whole whole situation was just so out of hand. Lord Chaitanya had Mukunda start leading kirtan. And Mukunda led such kirtan that sometimes rocks would melt. The sweetness of his singing. Who's our best singer here? I know Lokanath was singing earlier. He's pretty good. Bhima, Yadav, Prabhu. Who?
Sachikumar.
Oh, Sachikumar. Okay. No, definitely not me. All I can do is scream. But anyway, you know, our good singers. And some of the ladies are good too. Mother Rukmini Priya, she's a good singer. Oh, there you are. Yeah. Did rocks ever melt? Not yet. Coming in the future. So yeah, Mukunda started singing. And you know, this most incredible singing. And so when he sang, the singing was just so overpowering that everyone just forgot what's going on. They just forgot. And the kirtan went on for hours and hours through that day. Yes. And Lord Chaitanya was so into it, everyone was into it. Then, when no one was, it went on all night into the next night, which might be today, anyway. They went on into the next day. And suddenly, when people were not watching, and no one was expecting it, Lord Chaitanya called for a barber to cut his hair. Because Lord Chaitanya had, you know, he's so beautiful, but his hair was so incredibly beautiful. Just incredibly, superhumanly beautiful. But now he's taking sannyas. He has to shave all his hair off his head. Yeah. So, wow. So when the barber realized, so the barber arrived, and the people realized that this was going to happen. And that, take a guess what they told the barber. You cut his hair, we'll kill you. Along with Krishna Bharati, throw you in the occasions with them. But they were really serious. Yes, so the people started talking amongst each other. The barber came with his instruments, but he couldn't touch the Lord's hair. He just began to cry and became so paralyzed. All the devotees headed by Nityananda, they started crying and rolling on the ground. And all the people, just all the general people began to cry. And one woman said, "Who's invented this system of sannyas?" Speaking like this, the ladies all sighed deeply. Hidden from view, all the demigods also cried. In this way, the entire universe was filled with the sound of crying. Yes, so such compassion was shown by Sri Gaurachandra that even dry wood and stone melted. So then Lord Chaitanya told the barber, "Cut my hair." The barber refused. He said, "My hands are shaking too much. I'll cut you. I can't do it." Lord Chaitanya told him again, "Cut my hair." The barber said, I can't see, I'm crying too much, I can't see through the tears. I can't do it. Then he tried to pull himself together again, cleared the tears from his eyes, picked up his blade, one of these, they call them cutthroat blades. Yeah. And he saw the blade was crying. And then Lord Chaitanya spoke to him. He said, you will never have to cut another person's hair in your life. This will be your last service as a Baba. I bless you that you perform this service to me. And my promise to you is you will never know unhappiness for the rest of your life. You'll live in blissful, joyful prosperity. And when you die, you'll immediately go back home, back to Godhead, to live eternally in my abode with me in the spiritual world. So cut my hair. It is my desire. So the Baba started. First, he cut one hair. The first hair fell, and millions of tears fell. Every hair that fell, there were millions of tears. Lord Nityananda, Mukunda, Chandrasekhar, Gadadhar covered their faces with their cloths. It was unbearable for them. They could not watch. That hair that totally enchanted the gopis of Vrindavan, to see that beautiful hair, the gopis were willing to renounce everything of the world and meet Krishna. Even Lord Brahma, Shiva, and Shukadev Goswami are crying to get darshan of that beautiful hair of Lord Chaitanya. And the Baba was cutting it off. So the next day, actually what happened was, when his hair was half cut off, Lord Chaitanya started a kirtan, massive kirtan. So the next day, the sannyas ceremony took place, which is tomorrow. So the essence of these initiation ceremonies actually is the receiving of the mantra, whichever is the relevant mantra or mantras. Like with first initiation, it's Hare Krishna Mahamantra. With second, it's the 7 Gayatri mantras. With sannyas, there's a sannyas mantra. Now the thing is, this Keshava Bharati was a Mayavadi. Not a Mayavadi, he was a devotee. But he had taken sannyas in the Mayavad line, because the Vaishnav line at that time was not well situated. And only Mayavadi sannyasis were taken seriously. So he was like that, although he was a devotee. So now he was, seeing he's the sannyas guru, he has to give Lord Chaitanya the mantra, which was going to be a Mayavad sannyas mantra. Mayavad meaning people who think it's all one and we're all God, and Ayendra Chaitanya's God, Sri Radha Kripa's God, and so on. Yeah, you're lucky I'm not God, I tell you. I would not do a good job of it. So yeah, it's very different from the Vaishnav, the devotee line. So now he has to give him the mantra, but it's going to be a Mayavad mantra. So he's sitting there, and he tells Lord Chaitanya, okay, turn your right ear to me, I'll speak the mantra into your ear. So not into the air, but from a little distance he spoke the mantra. Lord Chaitanya said, I didn't hear it. Come a bit closer. So second time. Lord Chaitanya said, I'm so sorry. I just didn't hear it. Little closer. I'm so sorry, I just can't hear it. I sort of heard it. Let me speak it to you and tell me if I've got it. And Lord Chaitanya went up to his right ear and spoke the traditional Vaishnava sannyas mantra into his right ear. So is that the right mantra? And Keshav Bharati became ecstatic. Yes, that's the mantra. That's the one. So actually Lord Chaitanya gave him sannyas. That's the fact. So anyway, so like this, Lord Chaitanya took sannyas, and there's more, but it's getting late. Well, okay. They had a massive kirtan, and Lord Chaitanya embraced Keshav Bharati, and they were all just dancing and dancing. The kirtan finished, and Lord Chaitanya said to Keshav Bharati, I want to go to Vrindavan now. Keshav Bharati said, I'm coming with you. All the people, and by this time there were millions, they all said, we're all coming with you. Anyway, somehow he got away, actually, yeah. He got away, and Lord Nityananda took him on a road, which he told him, this is the way to Vrindavan, because Lord Nityananda had been there, he'd lived in Vrindavan. But actually it was the road back to Mayapur, yeah. But Lord Chaitanya is in such ecstasy, he didn't even recognize that this is the area I've been living in all these years. And Lord Nityananda is saying, yeah, we're getting close to Vrindavan, it won't be long. And there were cowherd boys along the way. And one of the other devotees would run ahead and tell them, the cowherd boys, now when the sannyasi comes by, he'll ask you, is this the way to Vrindavan? Just say yes. Just keep going. So Lord Chaitanya would ask them, is this the way to Vrindavan? Yes. Just keep going. And eventually, he ended up, they're following the Ganges. Lord Chaitanya thought it was the Yamuna. And Advaita Acharya came on a boat with clean clothes. And Lord Chaitanya said, what are you doing in Vrindavan? And then Advaita Acharya explained, we felt you should come back so all the people from Mayapur and Navadvip can meet you for one last time before you just leave everything. So yes, he went to the place of Advaita Acharya and stayed there. So there you go, devotees. That's the story of Lord Chaitanya taking sannyas. And the day is tomorrow. So we told you in advance, so you can meditate on it all day tomorrow. It's just really an amazing story. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki. Shri Shri Gaur Nitai Ki. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Gaur Premanande.
His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Swami Maharaj Ki. Srila Prabhupada Ki. So thank you very, very much, Maharaj, for immersing us in the most merciful and nectarian pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I'm going to kindly